had required and requested and recommended for it to do. This is a community, according to studies, about 10% of doctors in this country are Muslim. Our population is about 1%, at most maybe 1.5%. But yet 10% of the doctors, physicians in the country are Muslims, contributing to the health care, to the health well-being of our community, of our country. Alhamdulillah, this community, numbers-wise, will continue to grow with immigration, with conversion, with growth, whatever you name it, all factors. Alhamdulillah, you go and visit every masjid and count how many people have accepted Islam just in the last year. Despite all the negativity, all the unfairness, all the lies, all the defamation about Islam, subhanallah, you go. Count how many of the Muslim leaders, the Muslim scholars themselves are converts. From Imam Siraj to Hamza Yusuf to Suhaib Webb, and the list goes on and on. Dr. Ingrid Mattson and many and many. How many communities can say that? It's a sign of health. The Muslim community is the youngest religious community in this country. The youngest on average. On average, the average age is under 20 for the Muslim community. What does that mean? That means it's a community with a lot of untapped potential yet. It has yet to bloom. All the greatness we see, alhamdulillah, and we have not even bloomed yet. All these young people are inshallah going to get into colleges, going to get into degrees, into politics, into making an influence, a positive influence, not just for us, but for everyone else. This is the first factor. The second factor is that the political map is changing itself. What is that? What does that mean? Well, first of all, I can remind you 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when we talked about politics, wallahi, I still remember the days I used to be kicked out of masajid. Astaghfirullah al-Azim, brother. You're voting, democracy, haram, get out. I remember those days. Wallahi, I remember those days. Only 25 years ago. Now you can hardly find a Muslim who's not engaged politically. We failed. We wanted to do a voter registration drive as CARE at the masajid. Very few people registered. You know why? They were all mostly registered to vote already. They're asking for more. Give us who to vote for, what to vote for, what are the issues, how can we engage, how can we run for office. Alhamdulillah, this is a community that is fully engaged. Ask anyone running for office in the city of Corona, and they will tell you they come to the Muslim community to get their endorsement, their support, and the same story happens in every city, in every county, and in almost every state now. I can tell you what our biggest problem now is as individuals, as activists, is that we have candidates running against each other and both are competing for the endorsement and the support of the Muslim community. Our biggest dilemma now is who to support without upsetting the other side. I can tell you 5 years ago, 7 years ago, either of the candidates would tell the Muslim community, don't come to me, don't endorse me, don't come to my campaign, don't donate. If they donated to their campaign, they used to return their checks, including one of the leading candidates who did that many years ago. So the reality is, the Muslim community's political muscle is growing, is building up, and people are noticing that. This is one of the ways you earn respect in this country, economically, but also politically. Alhamdulillah, that is happening. But also the political map changing in the country among the rest of the country. When only maybe a year ago, it was normal to hear anti-Muslim sentiment and no one would react. Today, the rest of the country is realizing that it cannot remain silent in face of bigotry. Because whether they love Muslims or not, that's besides the point. Because they realize that once you've allowed that, it's a slippery slope. You allow a candidate to attack Muslims, then next he or she will attack Mexicans, or Mexican Americans, or women, or blacks, or immigrants, or. And the political party that has candidates like that will eventually lose. It will lose the base, the support, because in general people would not accept that, would not tolerate that. So many people have actually realized, including, for example, even when we have the leading Republican candidate bashing Muslims, even within the Republican Party, including Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and others, said this is not acceptable. So even within the same party, same thing on both. This is not an endorsement of any of the candidates. The reality is, even the Democrats realized that if anti-Muslim sentiment takes that route, think about it. Who was the which speech was the most important speech at the Democratic Convention? Khizr Khan, right? Khizr and Ghazala Khan. The most listened speech. They brought in a Muslim to send the message that we're not like that guy. We're not like the others engaging in bigotry. Because again, the political map is changing. Americans now are saying this is not acceptable. There will always be a percentage that will continue to do that. But the reality is the mass, the critical mass of fellow Americans have gone fed up with that process of bigotry. The third factor is history. History tells us that every community has had to go through such bigotry, racism, and challenges. I know we like to always feel that, hey, what we're going through is very unique, we're the worst thing that has ever happened, you know, what's happening, Islamophobia is the worst thing, and so on. But the reality is it's not. And if you have doubts about that, study the history of Native Americans in this country. What happened to Native Americans? Actually, may I add, for those who are watching Dakota and other areas, what is continuing to happen to Native Americans? Complete denial of their humanity, complete denial of their basic human rights. Not only as US citizens, but even as human beings, to own land, to have access to their land, to their water, and all of that. We've wiped out tens of millions of Native Americans in the name of discovering America, right? Our country's history is about discovering. Because remember, until a white man finds the place, it didn't exist. So we discover. Until Christopher Columbus discovered America, it didn't exist. With its millions and millions, tens of millions of inhabitants at that time. Think about that. Think about African Americans who were brought into this country by the tens of millions against their will as slaves. Denied their basic humanity for decades and decades and decades. And when the rights were given to them, they were given subhuman rights. Subhumans. There was segregation, there was discrimination, no rights to vote. Those rights didn't come until there was a struggle happening. But tell me, are we being lynched? Are we being treated anywhere close to what African Americans have had to face? Absolutely not. Look at what the Asian Americans had to go through. Japanese Americans. During World War II, 120,000 Japanese Americans were placed in concentration camps in this country by our government. Taken away from their jobs, their homes, completely denied any right to due process. They've lost everything, taken and placed into concentration camps by their own government, our government. And then when they were sent back, they were not given back any of their properties. Maybe $20 and a note, enough to take a bus so they can go to some city to visit relatives, and that's it. I ask you by Allah, are we facing anything close to that? Absolutely not. Not even comparatively fair to put it on the map. So alhamdulillah, one thing is we know we're doing well. Alhamdulillah, despite all the challenges, it's minute compared to others. But more importantly is every group that had to face such bigotry and racism in this country, and the list is on and on, by the way, goes on and on. Catholics, Jews, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, Mormons, everybody has their own long history of abuse and discrimination against them by the population at one point. So what we're going through, we can look and learn lessons. And the lesson is, what they all did was organize. All these communities organize among themselves. Politically, economically, socially, build partnerships, coalitions. And that's how they were able to defeat the racism that was targeting them. None of them, any community that hid its head in the ground, that dug its head in the ground, any community that said, I will wait for the storm to disappear, any community that said, Inshallah, God willing, the laws will change on their own, failed. It never happens. Injustice does never stop on its own. It's only when it's challenged. And mainly led by the group that is being subjected to that injustice. So what they did, they fought against that injustice, organized, built their power. And this is what the American Muslim community ought to do and is doing to a great extent, alhamdulillah, and we can do more. As we continue doing that, speaking up against injustice, speaking against those who try to treat us as second-class citizens, those who try to marginalize us in our country, those who try to depict the American Muslim community as a suspect community, as a threat to this country, as un-American, as not good Americans, whatever the slogans might be and the labels might be, we have to challenge. And when we challenge, wallahi, Allah is my witness. I have no doubt that within years, not decades, years, all of this will turn around. All of this will turn around and it become not only unpopular, it will become painful politically, economically, and every level socially to be anti-Muslim. The way it is now with being anti-Semitic. By the way, only a few decades ago, the 20s and the 30s of past century, it was acceptable to be anti-Semitic in this country, to discriminate against Jews at the workplace, in leasing, in housing, in every level. They fought, they organized, they built the political power, and dare to be anti-Semitic now. And rightly so, people get punished when they are. Because racism should never be acceptable. And I can tell you, if we continue on this path, inshallah, all of us, not just a few of us, all of us as a community should be concerned by organizing our power. Things will change. It's just a matter of when. The more of us get active, the faster the result would be, inshallah ta'ala. The fourth factor that brings me hope, and inshallah will bring you hope, is our Constitution. The US Constitution does not depend on who is in power, regardless who is in the White House. Trump, Hillary, Stein, XYZ, it makes no difference. Because whoever is in the executive branch, even at the head of the executive branch, all they can do is execute power within the Constitution. They have a small window called the executive order or executive power to issue these presidential executive orders. And they might cause some damage to one individual, one institution, but not to the whole country. And even when that happens, easily this could be challenged in a court of law. Easy. You can challenge that, take them to court. Even the president can be taken to court. Even the head of the FBI can be taken to court. So they will not cause any permanent, vast mass damage. The Constitution guarantees freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to organize as Americans. So don't worry who becomes president. Work hard to make sure good people get elected to president and other levels. But don't be panicking. Don't be obsessed, oh my God, what will happen if this person wins or this person loses? Because it's not gonna make, it's just gonna make more fun for us to fight back. It will just make it more needed for us to organize and build more coalitions. That's it. The courts, the law, the system is on our side, because that's the difference between America and other countries. In Canada, alhamdulillah, they have a great prime minister, right? But if that prime minister goes and another nasty one comes, then all the fun and all the enjoyment and all the comfort the Muslims have there will go away. Here it does not, it's the other way around. It does not depend on who's in power. Who's in power can poison the atmosphere, the climate a little bit. But the laws are the laws. No one can come and tell us, what are you talking about, Hussam? Shut down this masjid, stop talking. Someone does that, we take them to court. Believe me, they would lose. And we have precedents that we can show. So no need to panic, no need to worry or over worry. Focus on what your goals are. Alhamdulillah, continue to organize, but be very hopeful, inshallah ta'ala. And of course, when we talk about the Constitution, it is important to compare, alhamdulillah, how blessed we are for that protection, compared to how many people around the world, Muslims and others, are denied those basic rights. Ask the Muslims, if you want, in Burma, in Myanmar, how do they feel as citizens in their own country, with absolutely no rights. Absolutely no rights. Ethnic cleansing, killing, murder, no rights to vote, no rights to even register their kids as citizens in their own country. Ask Muslims in China, if you want. Ask Muslims in Russia. Ask Muslims in Syria, who are subjected to a genocide now, under the watch of the whole world. And the list goes on and on. I usually mention a few countries and people get upset. How come you didn't mention this country too? The list goes on and on. So alhamdulillah, we are blessed. We are blessed that we have that piece of law, the Constitution, that allows us that freedom to organize, to stand up for what is right, to stand up for justice for us and for others. The fifth factor that makes me feel comfortable, inshallah, is actually the sentiment of the average American. Our fellow Americans are actually, for the most part, actually, for the vast most part, are friendly people, caring people, forgiving people. Their animosity towards Islam today is fake, is a result of this huge industry of Islamophobia, but it's not deeply rooted. It is not something that will not be removed. It's something that we need to scratch at the surface, only by organizing. And anyone who has been active with their neighbor, with their co-worker, with their classmate will testify to that. They say, yeah, I was talking to my neighbor, he said, oh, I had bad views, unfavorable views about Islam. But then when I got to know you and talk to you, my views changed. We hear that every single day. And if you don't want to hear about it, read the surveys. Every survey that shows fellow Americans saying we have unfavorable views about Islam, In the same survey, you look at the people who know of a Muslim, who engage with a Muslim, they don't have those views. Actually, overwhelmingly, they have positive views of Muslims. So the reality is, we are at fault at this point for a great extent. If we don't do enough to talk to our neighbors, our classmates, our co-workers, our fellow Americans, we have no one to blame but ourselves. Don't blame Fox News. Fox News is only filling a vacuum, a void. If there is void because of our absence, we can't blame Fox News. Of course, I still blame them for everything else. But the reality is, we first should blame ourselves. We should first try to fill that vacuum. The vacuum is knowledge about Islam, understanding Islam. So we fill that through our actions, our interactions. Then, if still people listen, then there's a problem. And I can tell you they wouldn't. Numbers show us, alhamdulillah, that the average American is very open and very respectful of people who have values, people who choose to follow a religion, whether it's Islam or anything else, by the way. So don't think that, oh my God, by having a beard, by wearing a hijab, by coming to the masjid, by asking my employer, I need time off for prayer, oh, what are they going to think of me? Actually, studies show it's the other way around. People in America respect those who stand for something, who show sincerity towards something. You want people to respect you, you want your neighbors to respect you, you want your co-workers, your employer to respect you. Show them that you respect your religion. Show them that you have something that you hold dearer to yourself than anything else. And that is your Islam, your identity, your values. And wallahi, I guarantee you, you will see how that respect gets reflected by people around you. Try it and see. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I've seen it with others, and alhamdulillah, every time without fail, this was the result. And last but not least, in terms of factors, is the factors from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. As I said, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised to those who believe and hold with patience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them victory. إِن تَنصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنصُرْكُمْ. If you stand by Allah's teachings, if you give support to what Allah had given you, Islam, the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then Allah will give you that support. Allah will give you that support from. It's a promise. This is a promise to the believers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us also in the Holy Quran, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا. Listen to this powerful thing. وَزُلْزِلُوا حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. You know, sometimes we ask that question. When is Allah's victory? When is that promise coming? أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. The victory, the support from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that close to you. The verse goes and says, did you really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, did you think, did you assume that you are going to enter paradise without going through what other nations before you have gone through? They were tested by poverty, by hardships. And their ground was shaken, their faith was shaken, their life was shaken in front of them. Their whole life, until even the messenger and those who believe with him started doubting and wondering, say, oh Allah, when is your victory? When is your support? And Allah says, my victory is very near. That victory is when you pass those tests. That ba'sa, that darra, that zalzala is going to come to you. But either you fail or even you stand up. When people are saying by being a Muslim you're going to be accused of being an extremist, a terrorist, an enemy, etc., etc., do you give up or do you hold up? Do you hold to that faith and say, subhanallah, this is what Allah had promised us. This is what Allah in the Quran has promised us. هذا ما وعد الله ورسوله. This is what Allah and His Messenger told us is going to happen. And yet some of us act like this is news. Oh my God, what did this come happen? What did this come from? I'm a believer. Where is Allah's victory? Allah's victory is waiting at the doorstep, right out there. But pass the test. Pass the test. Meaning stand up for what religion is, what your Islam is. Stand up for justice. Stand up for the rights of the oppressed, the underdog, Muslims or otherwise. Organize as a community. Be part of that activism, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you what He has promised. That promise is for the believers. And prove to yourself that you are among those believers, inshallah. Inshallah, all of us are believers, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. My dear brothers and sisters, these are difficult times, but these are the difficult times, the darkest of moments before the sun rises, before the dawn, right? Is the darkest moment of the day is that moment, the right moment, the minute exactly before the Fajr, before the dawn comes. We are at that moment, inshallah. Whether it takes another few days, another few years, but that is the moment we're in today. And that is the moment you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see you in your best behavior. That's the moment we need fellow Americans, fellow Muslims, the Ummah to see us in the best of moments. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to live up to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to behave during these difficult moments in ways that will make Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam proud of you and proud of us on the Day of Judgment. So we can tell him when your name was attacked, when your faith was attacked, when your teachings were defamed, we didn't run away. We didn't seek refuge. We didn't follow the path of least resistance. We stood up with pride and willing to take whatever it comes. Alhamdulillah, only good will come out of that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه ففوز المستغفرين. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, we're only a few days away from an election that's probably the most contested, most nerve-wracking election in recent times in our country. But alhamdulillah, the Muslim community have prepared for it. So what we need now is to deliver. And the election is not just about the presidential election, because somebody might say, well, it's California. We know who's going to win in California. Well, the election is much more about presidential elections. It's about who wins Congress, city council, mayor, propositions, supervisors, judges. So get informed. You have few more days. Ask people who are active in the community. They might recommend things to you. Do your own research. Find out what these people stand for, how they voted in the past, how they plan to vote, and make sure you vote on election day. This is our way of fighting back against those who want to marginalize us. If someone wants to marginalize you, you respond by saying, I'm going to be in the center. If you want to push you on the margin, you want to come to the center. You come to the center in this country through political organizing, through organizing as a community. And for that takes me to the second. Well, the first one is, there are voter guides that CARE had published. They're outside, inshallah. Brother Mustafa will have them outside at the CARE booth. Make sure you pick up one. If you don't want it as a hard copy, you can get it online. It's available. It tells you how to vote, recommended votes on propositions, how elected officials have voted in the past, but also you can do your own research. You don't have to follow CARE's only. You can do your own. But the key is to be an active, educated voter. The second thing is to organize as a community. CARE is organizing, your organization is organizing its 20th anniversary banquet or gala dinner on November 19th, just less than about 2 weeks from now. Everyone should take ownership of CARE. This is the organization that empowers us as a community politically, defends us against civil rights violations, challenge Islamophobia, educate about Islam, work with the media and politicians. This is our organization, not yours alone or this person's alone or mine or my family alone. All of us have benefited from this work, and CARE fully depends after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on you as a community. CARE chooses not to receive money from the government, chooses not to get money from CVE grants, countering of violent extremism grants, because they want to label Muslims as extremists. But for that to happen, to be independent, the Muslim community has to take ownership and say, we want to strengthen this muscle, this community's muscle. This national voice depends on everyone locally. So I urge, inshallah, to plan to attend, plan to support. If you cannot attend for some reason, at least make sure and make an intention to support financially with your money, with your dua, with your time as a volunteer, with your ideas, because this is a collective challenge. Empowering our community, uplifting our community, challenging abuse is a collective, inshallah, responsibility. I ask Allah to make us up to that task. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا اللهم متعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحيتنا، واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا. اللهم نسألك أن ترفع البلاء عن إخواننا المستضعفين المقهورين المظلومين في كل مكان. اللهم ونخص بالذكر إخواننا في سوريا وفي فلسطين والعراق وفي الصومال وفي مصر وفي تونس وليبيا. اللهم كن مع إخواننا في كشمير وبورما والهند وباكستان وبنغلاديش. اللهم كن مع إخواننا في الصين. اللهم كن مع إخواننا في كل مكان يظلم فيه المسلمون. اللهم تقبل منا دعواتنا يا الله، تقبل منا دعواتنا يا الله، اللهم تقبل منا دعواتنا يا الله. اللهم انصر المظلومين وأعنا على نصرتهم. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إلى كل خير، ومن أراد بهم شرا وضرا فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
استووا واعتدلوا أثابنا وأثابكم، وصلوا الصفوف وسدوا الفرج، وصلوا صلاة مودع. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل اللهم مالك الملك، تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء، وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء، بيدك الخير، إنك على كل شيء قدير. تولج الليل في النهار وتولج النهار في الليل، وتخرج الحي من الميت وتخرج الميت من الحي، وترزق من تشاء بغير حساب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله استغفر الله.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Juma Mubarak to everybody. I have quick reminders. First of all, regarding the time change this Sunday, please.